Welcome to Conversations with Leaders in Luxury. I'm Chris Olshan, CEO of the Luxury Marketing Council. Since 1994, 1,000 luxury brands in 41 cities worldwide. Today I have the privilege to be with Edie Rodriguez, Chairman of the Americas for Ponant Cruises. Edie, it's a pleasure to see you and thank you so much for participating in this.
Hi, Chris. It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So the way we typically start these interviews, we kind of want to get a sense of your background, where you grew up, where you went to school, and kind of what led you to the position you're in now. So could you start with kind of where you grew up and education?
Sure. Well, I was born in New Jersey and in my younger years raised there until late teens, moved to New York. I consider myself very much a New York City girl. And then from New York moved to Florida. It's hard to believe I've been in Fort Lauderdale over 34 years. Time flies when you're having fun.
Oh, absolutely.
And I actually went to college at Nova Southeastern University. I have a Bachelor of Science degree from there, but I believe it is about grow till you go, one of my Edieisms, as I like to call them, that my mini mantras. And I think life is about perpetual education.
Sure.
So certainly in graduate studies, I've had the luxury, if you will, and privilege to go to Wharton, Harvard, and Stanford for executive sort of continuing education classes, and they have been fantastic, and I like to do that at least once a year at different universities on different topics, and every day is a learning experience. And I was told as a child, great advice, to get a great education, find my passion and follow it, and that is exactly what I did. So my first job actually was right here, lovely New York City. I was a travel consultant for Liberty Travel. My passion was to travel the world, and I literally started at sort of the bottom, as they say, and worked my way up, and it's been a fabulous career.
Okay. That's a great way to start, and it's funny, there's so many similarities. Our founder, Greg Furman, and I are both from New Jersey, both consider ourselves New Yorkers. Our attorney of record went to Nova Southeastern and runs the alumni chapter for New York, and they were members for a number of years, and we've done a number of great events with them. And I actually started with the council long time ago at this point as an intern, so started from the bottom as well.
It's a great place to start.
It really is. You kind of learn the inner workings of the business before you're running the business. So
Definitely.
okay, so you started at Liberty Travel and kind of started at the bottom. Talk to me about your career over these last years and kind of how you went from Liberty to your last business and then finally to Ponant.
Well, I used to go to Fort Lauderdale on spring break, and I didn't like the cold weather. So I said, you know, one of these days I'm going to try living down there. And it was fantastic because I was really great at sales. Liberty was a great training ground back then, paid really well if you were, you know, good in sales. And so they had an office in Fort Lauderdale, and they said, if you want to transfer, transfer. If you don't like it, come back. And so I transferred down there with the idea, oh, I'll try it for a year and I'll come back. But a year became over 34 years, and it's been great fun. And then from there, I got into travel agency management. And then at the ripe age of around 26, I thought, oh, what am I going to do now? Because I was sort of bored. I get bored easily. And I wanted to, you know, at the young, ambitious age, figure out what to do next. And the what to do next was either going to be start my own agency / travel business or do something else. And the something else actually became what has now become Amadeus, the GDS, the Global Distribution System. I was very good on the computer, and the computer rep used to say, we're hiring, why don't you come and work for us? And so I literally went to the genesis of Amadeus, which back then was Eastern Airlines System 1 in Miami. And within a very short time, something like the first 6 months, I literally worked my way up from the bottom there to being vice president and running their global cruise division. And that at the time, I had a great team, and we had 90% global cruise line market share.
Wow.
And you know, they wouldn't leave me, basically. They trusted me, they got that I understood their business, and I had a great symbiotic relationship with all of the cruise lines, and then they used to ask me to come and work for them. And so that's sort of how I transitioned from the GDS side to the cruise line side, and it's been a fantastic career. And one of those highlights was certainly working for Carnival Corporation and being part of the team that rolled out Queen Mary 2, and I was one of the executives concurrently with Cunard and Seabourn. Then they were moving to California. My son was in high school at the time. I wasn't going to move, so I moved over to Carnival, and then from there transitioned to Royal Caribbean's Azamara Club Cruises, and then from there Crystal Cruises came calling, and I had a fabulous 4-year tenure there as their CEO. But as I get bored and it's time to do other things, Ponant is such a phenomenal brand and a phenomenal story, and I'm humbled and honored to be part of their team.
Okay, so that's a kind of a great span. So let's kind of jump right into Ponant. Talk to me first about the brand. I think, you know, I know all about them, but for most people, I think they're still under the radar, especially in the U.S. as a major cruise line. So why don't you give me some background on the line itself, and then from there we can talk about some of the initiatives that you're working on this year and kind of the overall target demographic and things like that.
Sure. Well, Ponant is just an incredible brand. Actually, in April, we just celebrated our 30th anniversary, and as I endearingly say, it's America's best kept secret. I knew about them for roughly the last 10 years because they used to try to hire me, and through those years I went and experienced their brand. I learned a lot about them, and I really fell in love with them because personally my favorite is a small ship environment, and by small ship I mean 270 guests or less. So when they started out, and how they started out was with our founder, who is a lovely man named Jean-Emmanuel Sauvé. And Jean-Emmanuel was a merchant seaman who had a dream and a vision to start a cruise line. And 30 years ago, off the coast of France, that's exactly what he did. And here we are 30 years later with 5 ships, growing to 7 more. By April 2021, we will be a 12-ship fleet. But I think really what the icing on the cake is, besides having a very passionate founder, which is so important, we have an incredible owner. So our ownership is Groupe Artemis, which is the parent company for companies like Christie's and a very famous French winery, and Ponant, and Kering. And if you're not familiar with what and who Kering is the creme de la creme of luxury goods.
I was going to say, if any of our listeners don't know Kering, turn the channel right now. You're on the wrong station.
Definitely. Kering gets all of my disposable income, basically, with brands like Gucci and Yves Saint Laurent and Brioni, and I can go on and on for days. Stella McCartney, just the world's most luxurious brands. So you have a very, very generous owner who is so bullish on the brand that he bought it, is investing over $2 billion in the growth with 7 new ships coming, and nobody knows luxury like Kering and Groupe Artemis. So that is a winning combination with a passionate founder, a 30-year-old brand where we have more experience than any other yacht expedition company, and the youngest hardware, and just fantastic ownership. So I'm delighted to be part of this team to really make sure that America's best kept secret becomes America's must-have.
Okay, so I want to talk to you about a phrase that you just used, yachting expedition. Talk to me about that, and how does that differ from your typical cruise line?
Well, cruises in general, painting in broad strokes in general, come in a myriad of flavors. Everything from mini floating cities with up to 6,000 guests and crew on board, down to very small and intimate, sort of private yachting, if you will. But if you have a private yacht, you typically can't take more than 24 people. There are a lot of constraints, even with renting or chartering one of those. So to me, yacht expedition means really an adventuresome spirit. These are typically beautiful new ships like we have, not older hardware like some of the quote-unquote competition have, but beautiful, sexy new ships. I call them the Maseratis and Ferraris of the sea. Small, meaning 270 guests or less. In fact, our 6 new ships, and we just took delivery of the first of 7 new ships, but 6 of them will all be the same, and we took delivery yesterday. Those 6 ships will just have 92 staterooms and suites. So just
wow.
for 184 guests. They're great to charter when you want to have a wedding or an anniversary or a multi-generation party. And you know, the world is getting wealthier, and as they get wealthier, they're looking for new and innovative experiences. Not only is our hardware so beautiful and intimate from a size perspective, but because of the size of the ships, we can get into the heart of the destinations, more unique ports that people can't typically get into, and our itineraries are as spectacular as the hardware of our vessels and our onboard experience. Because when you cruise, it's not just about the actual ship, it's about the destination and the experiences in port. So the way I define, back to the genesis of your question, what is yachting expedition? To me, by my standard, it has to be luxury, which means it has to be Ponant. It has to be 270 guests or less. And it has to have zodiacs and a marina out the back so that you can really get off the vessel in places like Antarctica and other sort of intimate places where you can have a dry and a wet landing, but really touch your toe on that place. So as an example, to go to Antarctica, many cruise line brands go to Antarctica, but in fact most of them just go cruising by, so it's just a visual experience. At Ponant, we actually get the guests off on the Zodiacs, take them ashore, and they can actually say they ventured out on that great 7th continent of Antarctica. But that's just one of many places we go. We already go to all 7 seas, all 7 continents. In fact, if you can get there by ocean water, Ponant can take you there, even up the Amazon to Manaus. Basically, the only place we don't go to is the Galapagos by sea. So any other part of the world you're interested in, we are definitely the brand experience that you should try. It's just exquisite.
Okay, so staying on the experience side, you know, that's been a major conversation in probably the last 2 years, that experience trumps product. You know, when we look at the millennials, all they care about is experience. It's more about a great vacation, a great dinner, than it is about buying a new handbag or a new pen or anything else. So it's going to be a 2-part question. Part 1, are you catering to a lot of millennials, or are they still kind of under the radar, and is it more baby boomers? And then part 2, from an experience standpoint, obviously being able to kind of touch your toe onto the continent and, you know, get off the ship is making a difference. Are you seeing that as one of the primary ways to market you guys as a different type of brand?
Well, let me first start by saying, as the mother of a millennial, and as somebody who is 28 for the second time in my mind, I can tell you that age is only a number. And these categorizations that are out there. But at the end of the day, people want experiences. And the really great thing about a Ponant experience is that whatever your age, we build and deliver memories of a lifetime that are like no other. And they can be customizable to the individual level, to the group level, to a full charter level. But what I would say is that today, cruising on Ponant is for the young at heart. You can be as active as you'd like, or simply do nothing and just enjoy the view. But one thing is for sure, if you try to get on and off the vessel, you will get on and off our vessels with ease. Particularly our 6 new Explorer class, the one we took the first of 6 delivery of. We have an infinity pool out of the back. We have a 3-tiered marina. So you're going to get off on one level if you're going kayaking, another level if you're going to go on the Zodiac, another level if you're going to go on the deep sea fishing boat, and so on. And so, is this for millennials? Absolutely. But it's for multi-generation families. We take children from 8 years and up. And in fact, we have a bunch of sailings we call the quintessential collection. And those are themed in different genres: food and wine, global world affairs, and some fabulous guest speakers and hosts to those topics. But in fact, we do have one which is multi-generation, because time is so valuable now to any family around the world, and that they're not looking down on their devices while they're having dinner. And so we definitely endorse family getaways. And so we do take children from 8 years and up, but one of those quintessential collection departures is for multi-gen. So I would say we cater to millennials, we cater to people my age, which is only a number, and the combination and mixture of the two. I love cruising with my 28-year-old millennial myself, and he likes cruising as long as there's a lot of activity. And of course, what's paramount for everybody in this day and age is to be connected. So as long as you have good Wi-Fi, you're good to go. Although I say you should try not to need Wi-Fi on your vacation.
I am a firm believer in that. In fact, our founder will go to the Canadian wilderness for a week every year just so he doesn't have to be connected. And that's his luxury, being able to be out under the stars and be disconnected from technology.
Sure.
Okay, so let's talk about this year specifically. Obviously, 6 new ships coming out over the next few years. What are some of the initiatives you're working on this year, and how are you kind of leveraging the state of the market? And what's your take on the state of the market this year? You know, we're hearing from a lot of brands, we're out of the recession, we're going to be back in a recession in a few years, the markets are up, the markets are flat, and I think everybody has a different take on it. So kind of what's your take on the market, and what are you really looking at this year?
So first let me say it's not just 6 new vessels, it's 7 new ships, and the 7th coming in April 2021, which will be the 12th in our fleet, will be the world's first luxury icebreaker to the North Pole. So talk about innovation. This will be something unbelievable and a must-do for people's bucket lists. And back to those 6 new Explorer class, they have many unique features, including the world's first underwater lounge with big windows on the port and starboard side that we call the Blue Eye. It's built and designed around biomimetics. Not only can you see out under the sea where you're cruising, but you can hear up to 5 kilometers away. The seats vibrate. It's a whole interactive experience where you don't have to go outside and get wet. You can just enjoy the undersea life with a glass of your favorite bubbly and stay dry with a big group of people, or just a couple if you'd like. So we're very proud of all of that. I am very bullish on the economy. I think it's fantastic, and I do in fact believe, and the studies and the statistics show, the world is getting wealthier, and they don't want things. They want these experiences. So what are we doing at Ponant? At Ponant, we're also very bullish on our travel agent partners around the world. So I would say to your viewers, to your listeners, call their favorite travel professional, pick a part of the world they want to go to, and make sure that their travel agent books them on a Ponant experience to that destination. So we're very focused on growing organically in this market in particular through the travel agent community. We're a small brand, we have excellent yields, we operate at 95+% of occupancy, so we don't need a lot of guests additionally to round out that sort of being sold out all the time. However, the U.S. market with 7 ships coming for a total fleet of 12 is very, very important to us strategically. So we will continue to do a myriad of different marketing initiatives to continue to grow this market. I'm very proud to say we've sort of doubled to tripled the U.S. market numbers already, and we've just begun with the launch of our first of 7 new ships. So it's a great news story all the way around, and I would say that if you haven't experienced Ponant, you should definitely call your travel professional and come and experience the world with us.
Great. Well, so this is going to be kind of a funny question. With all of this cruising, what do you do to chill out and decompress outside of work?
Well, that's a great question. I am, you know, a AAA New York personality. I'm very hyper, and I love to constantly go, go, go. So certainly one of the things I do to chill out is retail therapy. Back to all those brands my parent company owns. I, of course, like most women, love to shop. But really what I do to chill out is to travel my way when I want to get away from it all. And that typically involves going to, I have a lovely house in Tuscany, and I like going there and doing nothing. And so that's the way I chill out and disconnect, going to my beloved Italy and my wonderful home in Tuscany and just sort of drink lots of wine and do nothing.
Sounds like a great trip. Okay, so that's a perfect segue to my last question for you. What's your personal definition of luxury?
You know, I always say luxury is a term like beauty. It's in the eye of the beholder. It means different things to different people. So certainly in this chaotic, hectic day and age we live in, time is definitely a luxury. Sleep is a luxury. But luxury to me is really about one-to-one uniqueness and customizations. It's about planning that trip, and the trip is what's important to me. If you say to me, do you want a diamond ring, a house, a fur coat, or a trip? I'm always going to want the trip, but I want the trip customized to whatever I'm endeavoring to do on that particular journey. Is it just getting together with family and relaxing? Is it going to a new destination I've never been to before? Is it going back to a destination I loved and seeing it in a different way? So luxury to me is really customization to one's desires for each scenario.
Great. Well, Edie, time flies when we're having fun, so I want to thank you again for participating in the interview, and I want to thank you all for the investment of your time and the luxury of your company. Once again, I'm Chris Olshan, the CEO of the Luxury Marketing Council, here today with Edie Rodriguez, Chairman of the Americas for Ponant Cruises, and we'll see you again soon.
Well, thank you, Chris. It was truly my pleasure to be here, and I thank your viewers, and I hope you all call a travel professional and book Ponant soon.
I absolutely will. Thanks so much.
Thank you.